Hello, everyone. Welcome to the May 2021 edition of Coffee with GGHK, Gay Games Hong Kong, as we like to call it. My name is Betty Grisoni, and I will be your host today. We are exactly 532 days to the opening ceremony of the Gay Games Hong Kong. I say that at every podcast, so you have to count, 30 days less, but this is actually important, an important countdown. The GGHK, as we call it, Gay Games Hong Kong, will take place from the 11th to the 19th November 2022 in Hong Kong, first time in Asia. We expect about 12,000 participants and hopefully 75,000 spectators under the theme Unity in Diversity. There will be 36 sports, including new sports events from dragon boating, dodgeball, e-sport, and trail running. That's kind of my sport. We'll have also opening and closing ceremony, a festival village, and lots of arts and cultural events. It will be a celebration of sports, love, diversity to celebrate, guess what, the 40th anniversary of the Gay Game. And a little reminder, the Gay Games is just for everyone, regardless of ethnicity, religion, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, ability, and background. So this is a very small introduction to the Gay Games. So for more information, go to our website, www.ggHK2022.com. As most of you know, on May 17, the world commemorated the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. Pretty important day for us. So this is why at this edition of our podcast, I wanted to talk about the Gay Games legacy, and most importantly, about its positive legacy throughout its history and in the future after the Gay Games in Hong Kong. As you will see from our discussion, Gay Game is not only an amazing 10-day festival, but it has pretty amazing impacts on a city, a region, and even a country. But let me introduce you first to our guests tonight. We have Kimberly Hadley, the Federation of Gay Games Officer of Sports, and an extreme Gay Games passionate. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, everyone.
We also have Donald. Donald is a dear friend of mine, and he's a Gay Games Hong Kong Racquet sports manager and participated at 2 Gay Games. And Donald is from Hong Kong. Hi, Donald.
Hi. Hi, Betty.
Okay.
Hi, Kim.
Hi. But before we start our little discussion tonight, we had a special guest. We have the daughter of Dr. Tom Waddell, the founder of the Gay Games. He founded the Gay Games in 1982, and his daughter Jessica Waddell-Lewinstein Kopp was willing to have a quick chat with us. She couldn't come tonight live because timing was not the best for her, but we had a recorded interview. So we're going to listen to what she has to say and how she introduced the fantastic story of her father and how he started the Gay Games back in 1982. Let's just listen to Jessica. And after the recorded interview, we'll have a bit of a Q&A session. But let's listen to Jessica. Hello. Thank you very much, Jessica. We have you tonight, and we understand that you are actually in North Carolina, so we have the interview recorded for us tonight. You cannot really be with us live. So you are Jessica Waddell-Lewinstein Kopp, and maybe you want to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us who you are.
Sure. Well, you said my name, so I won't say that again. But I am the daughter of Dr. Tom Waddell and Sarah Lewinstein, who are co-founders of the Gay Games. And I'm actually someone who was born because of the Gay Games, because my parents met and worked on this amazing organization together. They had me, so I have a lot to attribute to the Gay Games. My life, also my career. It was one of the first jobs I had coming out of college. I went and worked at Gay Games Chicago, where I entered the world of PR and marketing, and that's where I continue to work to this day. So I have a lot to be grateful for with the Gay Games, and I'm really excited to be here today to talk about my parents, my dad, and the legacy he left behind through this amazing event.
Fantastic, sounds fantastic. And this is exactly what we're here for. I mean, without your father, we wouldn't have what we have here. We wouldn't have Gay Games, we wouldn't have Gay Games Hong Kong, which is going to happen next year in Hong Kong, obviously. And so I'm going to ask a few questions about exactly that, exactly the legacy. So I understand your father passed away when you were quite young. And can you tell me, when did you start to understand actually the scope of your father's legacy?
Sure. So I can't say there was a particular moment when his legacy became an actual realization. I think having grown up with the Gay Games, it was always something that was really clear that he created something big, and that brought people together in a really meaningful way. That said, it wasn't until my teens, maybe early 20s, that I was able to understand the scope of the games on a global scale and the ongoing need for it in the broader context of civil rights. At that point, I think I realized his legacy doesn't necessarily reflect what he achieved specifically in his lifetime, which is a lot, but it's reflected in the lives he changed and the lives he inspired by it. So for me, when I get to hear stories from people who have been touched by his story and the work he's done, that's when the legacy really becomes clear to me and I get a better understanding of it.
Right, right. So you're talking about stories of people that got touched by the Gay Games. Do you have one in particular? Do you remember one of your first ones?
Um, I don't remember one in particular. I do remember there was one time that I was walking in the Pride Parade in San Francisco, and it's very common for everybody who's walking in the parade to kind of stand around for hours as everybody preps and gets lined up and ready for actual go time. And I remember someone had found me kind of standing around, and I'd never met them before, I'd never seen them before, but they recognized me and they just wanted to share that they had read my dad's book, they'd been to the games, and they shared how meaningful it was to be able to read something and be a part of something like that, because they didn't have their own family after they came out. They weren't supported by their own family. So being able to find an organization that really promotes people to come together and become a family was really impactful on them, and that was really touching. And to this day, I remember that person walking up to me at the parade to tell me about it. And it's those moments. I mean, it doesn't matter how small the story is or how big or how much of an impact, it really brings tears to my eyes just to hear that people had that kind of impact from my dad, and that
Yeah.
he actually was able to achieve that kind of positive energy for other people.
That's wonderful. And I find even myself, I mean, I've been working on the Gay Game for 6 years now, and every time I hear a personal story, even the story you tell, it just again touched me right into in the heart. And this is like, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing this. This is, a part of everything else. This is why I'm doing this. So yeah, we said you sadly your father passed away when you're quite young, and you just said you grew up with this legacy. But I heard an amazing stories about tapes that he left for you, and there was some stories about the Gay Games or something. Do you mind giving us a bit more insight on this?
Sure. Yeah. My dad knew that he was dying. After he found out he had AIDS, he knew that he had limited time on the earth, and that he was likely not going to get to see me grow up. And in preparation for that event, he started recording audio tapes. I was really little when he passed away, so I don't have memories of him making them. and I didn't know they existed. And when I was in my late teens, we actually ended up selling my dad's house, and packing stuff up and going through it. My dad had tenants that lived there as well. And in the process of them packing up their stuff and having help from friends, one of the friends that were helping them actually found these tapes, and packed them up and took them home for themselves. And I didn't know they were existed, so I didn't know they were missing. Years later, after I entered the workforce, I was at one of my first video game jobs in San Francisco. I came into the office and there was just a package on my desk, and I opened it up, and lo and behold, it was a package of tapes along with a letter from a woman who said that she had taken the tapes years ago from my father's house when everybody was moving out and stuff. And she thought, they were something cool that she could keep. But upon hearing them and listening to them, she realized that they really weren't for anybody but me, that they were made specifically for me. And she thought that it would be good to give them back. And so she sent them to me. And it's amazing to get something after years of not knowing it existed. I mean, my dad passed away when I was 3. So to get something when I'm in my mid-20s is just mind-boggling. So I was really excited to see what the tapes were and what was on them. And I went home to my parents' house, because they are the ones that have an audio tape player, which I haven't owned in years. And I plopped the tapes in, I lied on the floor, and I started listening to them. And it was just amazing. I was in tears a lot that day, but I heard my dad's voice. And not only did I hear my dad's voice, which I'd heard before in videos, but it was his voice speaking directly to me. And not about anything in particular. It was about what he was doing that day, what he felt like, what he maybe did that was a mistake and what he learned from it, or what he was really proud of that he did that day, who he talked to, what was going on with my family. It was just kind of an audio diary from various days leading up to when he passed away. And they were really amazing because it was educational for me. I always knew who my dad was, but hearing him talk so casually to me was eye-opening in the sense that I learned a little bit more, not only about him, but about myself. Because, there's sometimes where he makes jokes and I'm like, oh my gosh, I understand his humor. I feel like that's my sense of humor. And I'd always wondered where I got it from, because as much as I love my mom, we don't have the same sense of humor. And it's my dad. I had traits of my dad. And despite him not being around while I grew up, somehow I managed to still embody some of him inside me, and it was just a really humbling moment to realize all of that.
Well, thank you very much for sharing this very personal story. I asked this story also because it is amazing that he was looking at the future. He knew that you'd be listening to these tapes when you were old enough, so much later. And then when he was creating the gay games, I'm pretty sure somewhere he knew that was going to change people's life in the future. But do you think he ever imagined that the gay games, 40 years later, will be coming to Asia? I also feel like the fact that we won the bid, it was a big thing for us. But do you think he would have ever dreamt for the gay games to become this amazing, positive global event?
I think it's something that he aspired for sure. And I think my father would have liked to see the games go everywhere, to be honest. Much like him, I love to travel. I love to absorb their cultures, their history, their architecture. I like to observe their various approaches to politics, religion, and how it reflects the way they treat one another. And if there's anything that I know, it's that there's many places in the world that have yet to fully embrace the LGBTQ community. And that as long as there's ideologies that fuel the ignorance and the hate, the gay games always has more places to visit around the world, and more people to educate and more people to bring and usher a wave of love to. So I think he thought of Asia specifically? Maybe. I think he hoped the gay games would go everywhere. And Asia is part of that. I'm sure he didn't know when that would happen, but his ultimate dream was for this to become a truly global event, and for it to go to the places that need it the most.
Yes, thank you. And in 2022, so the date of the Gay Games in Hong Kong will be the 40th anniversary of the event, which is amazing. For every 4 year 40th anniversary. I think you know that our tagline, which is I think it's here. It's unity in diversity. Do you think that is somewhat continuing your father legacy, and why?
Yes. First, I'm slightly disturbed by the games are turning 40 because it means I'm slightly behind them. So I hate that, but I love it at the same time. That said, to answer your question, yes, the tagline feeds into my father's legacy and the founding principles of the games. I think it reflects the need for everyone to come together, regardless of their cultural, sexual, racial, political, or religious backgrounds. I think in the last few years since the Paris Games, we've seen a lot happen. We've seen very divisive language tear countries apart. We've seen the impact of a lack of security for minority communities worldwide. We've survived a pandemic, or we're in the process of surviving a pandemic, which in many cases spotlighted the country's weaknesses in healthcare and ability to cater to people of all kinds of economic classes. But to get through disruptive events like this, I think the only thing you can do is to come together as a people, to put aside our differences, to work side by side to overcome whatever challenges come our way. And what makes us different is also what makes us beautiful and what makes us stronger. So, and this is the same concept that's applied to sports, which is what makes them such a wonderful venue for this type of event. When you're on the field, it doesn't matter what your background is. All that matters is that you and your teammates work as one while leveraging your strengths, to really kind of help your team drive success and overcome the challenges ahead of you. So I think this tagline is very reflective of what the Gay Games represents.
And it also represent because we're going to organize the Gay Games in Hong Kong, but it is actually the first time in Asia. And in Asia, we have so many different type of culture, and so as you said earlier, so many ways of the LGBTQ community to be actually accepted or not accepted. So this is what we call ourselves unity in diversity. I personally been to only one Gay Games, and that was Gay Games in Paris in 2018. And France, during that time had, as you said, quite a few issues with some insecurities. And when the Gay Games were in Paris in August, for me, the amazing thing, it wasn't just the sports, of course, but it's also how it brought together so many people from around the world, from the entire LGBTQ spectrum, as well as the allies, and around these really, really positive things that are sports. And this is when we wrote the bid, we put together the words and the data and so forth. But then when you actually experience this sense of community, and also we see people that have been to so many Gay Games, and they have histories and legacies, and they share with people that are new to the game. And that was very interesting to me. For example, people they collection the pins of all the Gay Games, and I had no idea about this.
Yeah.
And people have this, I would say they have a legacy around their neck, because they wear pins from all the Gay Games and all the sports and so forth, and they proudly walk around with this great Gay Game history and legacy, but in a very positive and fun way. So this was actually quite surprising for me. Have you been to Asia yourself? Have you ever been to Hong Kong?
No, it's one place that I definitely want to go. The company I worked for just prior to moving to North Carolina was based in Japan. And during my time at that company, I hoped I would get to go, but it never happened. So I will make it out there one day. I have friends who live out there, and I would love to visit them.
How good you can make
but
it to the Gay Games next year. But what would you tell about your father to people in Asia? I mean, people in Asia might not know. I mean, the gay game is fairly new to quite a lot of people, and we've been sharing a lot of stories. But maybe some people, maybe the younger generation doesn't know who is your father, and what would you actually tell them about the great man and his great thinking?
Okay. My father was a great man, as you said. He achieved many things in a really short amount of time. His time was definitely cut short on this world, but he did a lot. Like he achieved more than many people have done. And there are many people who can say that who can't say that they've changed the world or that can hang their hat on quite so many feats, but he actually did that. He was
Absolutely.
a civil rights advocate, a doctor, an Olympic athlete, a traveler, an artist, a photographer, a paratrooper, a gymnast, dancer, football. The list goes on. He was everything. But more than anything else, my father was a good man. He wholeheartedly believed that everyone deserves the same level of respect, love, and freedom as anyone else. And he would have loved to attend the games in Hong Kong and would have been so honored to be among those who worked tirelessly to bring the games together, as well as those in attendance and those who are viewing from home. The people that are involved in this are the future of the games, regardless what generation they are or what their level of involvement are. They're the future. They're the people who are making the games happen and will carry them and their vision and my father's legacy forward until the team hands it over to the next city and they take over the reins. But until then, I want to personally say thank you to everybody who's worked on this or is participating and everything you've done, because you guys are working so hard, and in the current environment, I can only imagine the challenges that you're having to kind of navigate through to make this happen. But a big thank you to you, and a big thank you to all of Asia for welcoming the world to your home next year. I hope that you feel the sense of family and positive energy that I've experienced in all the games prior. And I hope you enjoy it.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. I think this is it for you tonight. Anything else you wanted to add about the gay games in Hong Kong in Asia?
It's a wonderful organization. It's filled with love and positivity, and it brings to light the need for us all to come together. So I very much encourage people to participate in any way that you can, because it's incredible.
Yes, it is incredible. And thank you again for your thank yous, because we're all volunteers. And, some of us have been working on this for many, many years. And we have been thinking of your father and the legacy. So thank you very much. And let's thank him as well. Thank you very much, Jessica.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So this was the recorded interview we had with Jessica, Dr. Tom Waddell's, the founder of the Gay Game. This is actually a picture of him, and this is a short introduction of who he was. But now let's go to a little chat with Kimberly and Donald. Kimberly, can you please, I introduce yourself. I introduced you earlier, but can you just maybe give us a little bit more, a better introduction and say who you are?
Sure. My name is Kimberly Hadley. I use the pronouns she, her, and hers. I live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I've been a professional football, soccer referee for 45 years now. I've refereed pretty much all over the world. During this time, I've been really open about my sexuality and have been really lucky to have been fully embraced by not just the football community, but just people in general, I think, but on the mainstream side of things, as well as the LGBTQ+. In my day job, I'm a special needs school bus driver, driving little guys around and making sure they get to school safe every day. And I'm, I guess, a professional volunteer. So just quickly, my first gay games should have been in Vancouver, BC, Canada, where I grew up back in 1990, but I'd moved away 3 years prior to that. So I really didn't have any knowledge of the gay games at that time, because that was before the internet. So that sort of dates me a little bit, I guess. It's too bad because I know that I would have been involved right from the beginning. And that's a shame, but ever since I did hear about them, I basically jumped on a plane in 2010, went to Cologne, and I was hooked. Since that time, sorry,
I
go ahead.
did introduce you as a very, very, very passionate, gay games passionate, and I know you for that.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, yeah, I'm sort of committed to a fault here. So full-time, part-time. I work part-time, but I volunteer full-time. So basically, I've been a participant in Cleveland Gay Games after Cologne and in Paris. I have just pre-registered for Gay Games Hong Kong 2022. Can't wait for this amazing event to be held for the first time in Asia. And you should too, if you haven't already. But I'm sure you'll hear about that a little bit later.
We'll talk about it a bit later.
Yeah, yeah. And then in 2016, I joined the Federation of Gay Games Board as an officer at large, was elected then twice after that to co-officer of sport. And I'm also currently serving as a member of the steering committee for the upcoming Gay Games in Hong Kong. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Donald, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit more?
Yeah,
as well.
Keep it quick. My name is Donald Tsim. I'm the Racquet sports manager. I have attended the Gay Games in Amsterdam in '98 and the Paris in 2018. And I work in information technology, and I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, and you are also a great gay games passionate. I mean, I remember we had gay games conversation, even though I didn't even know about the gay games. And you also like to play badminton. Yeah, you're quite enthusiastic about that game. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. All right, let me just start. I mean, I hope you enjoyed the interview with Jessica. I thought she gave us some really good sharings. We went into her personal life as well, but I think it was quite important to know who her father was and the history and what's actually behind the gay games. One of the things that she mentioned, and then this is a question for you, Kimberly. One of the things she mentioned is she really thinks that the event encourages positive changes. I mean, you have been involved with the gay games, or you've known about gay games from very, very early on. Have you actually seen such changes?
Yes, I 100% agree. This event has done that and so much more. It's given an opportunity for people to find and meet other like-minded people like themselves to participate in a safe and welcoming environment without having to fear of being persecuted for who they really are. The Gay Games is the world's largest sports and cultural event hosted by our community and our allies, but is open to everyone and really is an inclusive event. It promotes equality and inclusion through both sports and culture and is a celebration of all our people. But its main focus is to allow for the opportunity for people to come together for a week or more to participate in sports and cultural events without judgment or fear of being their fully authentic selves. One of the greatest things I've experienced is that everyone you meet becomes a part of your family, and every gay games forward becomes an environment similar to what I would consider to be almost a family reunion.
That's true. That's my experience. Yeah. That's what I shared. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen firsthand how people's hearts and minds have changed and become more open and accepting of people, not tolerant. I don't believe in tolerance, although that is a stepping stone in some cases, but truly an accepting of people that may be different from themselves. And I've seen participants return home and become advocates for our community, whether they're LGBTQ plus or an ally. This has led to support from their families, their communities, in some cases, even their governments. And many have returned home after experiencing the games with a fire just kind of burning deep inside of them, with the will to make the change and share those experiences that they have just shared with so many people from around the world. The way I look at it is the fire is so bright it burns your eyes.
Okay, great. And I think this is actually the question I wanted to ask Donald. So you have been to two gay games, one in
Yes,
Amsterdam. I didn't even hear the date. It was just like, very, very
98.
long time ago. And the one in Paris, which I've been to. And I think you also brought by some kind of legacy. I think that the fire that Kimberly is talking about went to your stomach as well when you came back to Hong Kong.
Definitely.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Okay. Well, I came out in 95 in London. At that time, I joined a badminton group of gay men and lesbians. But at that time, I'm not sure whether I belong to the LGBTQ community at the time. I just know that they are gay and lesbian, and we play badminton. It's not until I participated in the Gay Games '98 in Amsterdam. In that 8 days, wherever you go in Amsterdam, you see people smiling at you. If they won the medals, they will wear on their neck, and if they fancy someone, they say, I want a hug from you or a kiss from you, and people just do it freely. And it's so friendly. There's no hatred, and all the restaurant will serve you. And basically, you have a wonderful time, and you don't feel threatened. And the kind of free that you feel, you would never ever experience. But having said that, Amsterdam Gay Games was, I would say, at least in badminton, 90% is gay or lesbian playing in the games, but you don't see much other people's. But when I played in Paris in 1918, the difference is in badminton, at least, I would say about 30% are straight people
Allies,
playing
yeah.
in badminton. And I actually asked some of them, I say, are you gay or lesbian, or you just make up the team? And they say, no, we're husband and wife. I'll say, why would you play in the gay games? And they say, oh, it's the only opportunities we get a chance to play with all the people around the world in badminton. And I say, do you feel difference in other games? They say it's the same. The difference is that we don't play with the people we know. We speak in the language people can communicate, and we make friends. And that is the change in gay games that brings to people, is from an LGBTQ community to a much broader general public acceptance of us. So that's what I hope this our Hong Kong Gay Games will carry on with that. Yes.
That is a very nice story. I mean, this is unity in diversity. That's actually a true, sir. Very, very good. Thank you very much, Donald, for sharing. Kimberly, yes, unity in diversity is our tagline. We're quite proud of it. We thought it kind of meant a lot to us. But do you think what does it mean to you? And do you think it fits with the legacy of the games?
Short and sweet. It just means we're stronger together when we celebrate and embrace our differences rather than simply being the same. That's it. Being the same is boring. And I think that, well, it is. And I think we don't celebrate our differences enough. Society tends to, poke at things that are different. And if they're different, they're not comfortable with it. So I think this is a perfect tagline for that. We're much stronger together when we celebrate and embrace our differences.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. Donald, what does it mean to you as a person from Hong Kong?
For me, it's I'm still learning
Asia,
about the diversities in our community. I mean, when I came out, we only have lesbian, gay, and transgender. That's it. But now we have a lot more broader spectrum. We have non-binary, fluid identity, all sort of different kind of peoples that they won't belong to what we had traditionally in the first three groups I mentioned. So the diversity is really widening, and we have to learn and be empathy of the differences, and learn to accept the differences, and learn to communicate with them. And this unity and diversity is exactly what we need.
And play together, and play sports together.
Exactly. Be friends together.
Exactly. Yes. I think in the interview I had with Jessica, also we mentioned and Asia, because the Gay Games in Hong Kong will be the first time in Asia, and Asia has a lot of different culture, and I think this is also I think this is,
Yes.
for me, that's what also unity and diversity represents, not only the diversity in our sexual orientation, but also in different cultures. So I think that's quite wonderful. To you, Kimberly, you've been, as I say, a great gay games passionate. What do you really think the main legacy of GGHK will be? What do you wish for it to be?
I think my wish for the main legacy would be to show Asian people and the Asian community and that region that you are living in today, that being LGBTQ plus is a strength, not a weakness. That we're all deserving of equity in our lives and living our lives without barriers put in front of us. You know, it's a constant struggle for people in many, many countries, including my own. You know, I live in Canada, but it doesn't mean that we are 100% accepted by society. I want it to be able to show our families, our friends, coworkers, society, government, the whole shebang that we're just like them and we are them. My hope is that we get to meet thousands of people from this region who'll have the chance to experience the absolute love and acceptance that they'll feel at the games. And that many, for the first time, will feel absolutely 100% free and have the ability to express themselves freely. And that they may be, that this is something that they may be kept from the world in their daily lives. And I think that this is the one opportunity in some cases that people will have to actually embrace that. And I think that that's what the legacy should be, or is my wish.
Great, thank you very much for sharing, Kimberly. What about you, Donald? And I think my question is especially targeted towards you as a person
Chinese.
from Hong Kong,
Yeah.
a Chinese person from Hong Kong, and because this is actually putting Hong Kong in a major global map, not only an LGBTQ map, but a global map. So how do you feel about this as a person from Hong Kong? Chinese
Well,
person?
as a person from Hong Kong, I think having gay games in Hong Kong is very important for us as LGBTQ, and also for the next generation of the LGBTQ coming out in this culture of traditional values. Means that you have to be a very good behaved person, follow what your fathers and mothers like you to do, and instead of expressing your own freedom to be who you want to be. But have to be able to do that, people have to understand the LGBTQ community, what it is. It's not the negativities of the community, but the positive side of it is the unity, as you say. And I hope that people will get a better understanding of who we are and accept us, not straight away, of course, but gradually. And we would able to carry on further after the gay games.
So basically a legacy, right? So
Yes,
just
it is
not,
the legacy.
as I mentioned, not just a 10-day festival, but for people to say this community is a vibrant, creative, impactful community, and then we can bring this further. I think this is quite important. Yes. Do you agree, Kimberly, about giving a legacy to the younger generation? Is this something that you agree with?
Absolutely, absolutely. The legacy needs to be there for the younger generation, especially, as well as women, trans, and youth. Youth being 18 plus, of course, but even though we are an adult-oriented organization, I think it's really important for even the youth under the age of 18 to learn about the gay games and to learn that there is something for them if they don't feel that there is right now. We can't change everything. We want to change the world. That's one of the most important pieces of the gay games, and part of our mantra is to change the world, or games that change the world. But you can't compete or participate until you're 18. So if you're 16 years old and you're watching this, know that there is a place for you down the road a little bit. we can't do much about it right now just because of the minority part of things. But, we are with you, and we'd love to have you as part of our family. And yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And at Gay Games Hong Kong, we are gearing up to do quite a lot of outreach programs and outreach events, giving towards the youth. Also, we are having lots of conversation with, and thank you, Donald, for mentioning this, with trans and non-binary individual from a lot of sports. We're having a lot of conversations. So I think this is something that's very important. And you're right. This little circle, we're not the youngest one of the bunch, and we have some great young volunteers. But tonight was a discussion about the legacy. So that's great. Anything else you wanted to add, Donald?
Oh yes, I would like
Kimberly.
to say. We had lots of volunteers in Gay Games Hong Kong, and we welcome anybody who wishes to be our volunteers in Hong Kong, whether you're living in Hong Kong or away from Hong Kong at the moment. If you're coming to Hong Kong and you would like to help us to be a volunteer, we welcome you, and we need loads of them. Yes.
Great. Kimberly, anything you wanted to add about the legacy of the Gay Games in general?
I just think that the team that Gay Games Hong Kong has assembled has done an absolutely incredible job. You've had so many challenges to overcome, especially with the pandemic and the situation that we're in globally right now. I just think that you're doing an incredible job, and keep at it. And thank you for all of what you do. We couldn't do it without you at this point in time, and we trust that Gay Games Hong Kong is going to be the most amazing event and the best ever. So thanks for having me today.
Great. Thanks a lot. We have a little bit of time for Q&A. Hello, Dennis. There was a question that came in. Maybe it's for you, Kimberly. So the Federation of Gay Games has their own tagline, or what we call principle, participation, inclusion, and personal best. And can you tell us, Kimberly, what does it actually mean?
Sure.
So I mean, for your own eyes.
From my own eyes. Okay. Well, participation, obviously, we're about everybody participating. We don't exclude, we include. And that's the second part of it, the inclusion. We believe in everybody participating along with us. And that's where the LGBTQ plus community comes in. That's where our allies come in. We're welcoming in the sense that if you are with us, then you're with us. And, you believe in what we are as a society, and you believe in human rights, you believe in all those things that come along with that. And at the end of the day, you just want to participate. We play in teams, we play as individuals. I'm an athlete, so, from a cultural point of view, I can't speak too much about that, but, definitely there's, from the cultural aspect, there's the arts community. Bringing everybody together is really, really the key part of this entire event. And the personal best, you just show up to do whatever the best that you can do. And, you don't have to be an Olympian or a former Olympian or we've had people there was a lady, I believe in Cleveland, that was over 100 years old that ran the 100-meter by herself, and she made a world record. So, she wanted to participate because her daughter was a lesbian, and she just wanted to support her.
Wonderful
So,
story.
we have people coming from all walks of life. And I think that that's one of the most, embracing parts of the Gay Games.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much, Kimberly and Donald, for sharing the positivity of the Gay Games. As you mentioned, Kimberly, the world is going through some crazy times, and watching the news is not always happy, but we want the Gay Games for something to be positive. And we just have Dennis coming in. Hello, Dennis. Dennis is going to talk about, and what you mentioned a little bit more, Kimberly and Donald, talk about our volunteers, some of our volunteers.
And that's a very good moment. Hi, good evening and good afternoon, everybody. And we want to talk about our volunteers. Donald already mentioned we have an amazing team of volunteers, about 160 professional volunteers working on this event. But we have a couple of volunteers who have been with us already for 5 years when we started in the bid process. And I would like to call those names who you can see on the screen. So Solomon, Nigel, Naoki, Snow, of course, Donald, Charles, David, Jose, Siafung, and of course also yourself, Betty. So thank you so much for all your work for the last 5 years. Without you, we wouldn't be able to have been here. So we really appreciate all your hard work on this. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to mention something. The title of this podcast is Coffee with GGHK, because about 6 years ago, when Dennis will ask you to have coffee with him, and then you get embarked in this amazing project. So that's why we call it Coffee with GGHK. Thank you so much, Dennis. I think you want to talk a little bit more also about what Kimberly mentioned, the pre-registration.
Yes, we just opened pre-registration. And it's a very important moment because that means that you already can be involved with the gay games now. So why should you register? There are 2 reasons. One hand, you're the first one. For each event, we have limited spots. So be the first one. Once we open the registration in a couple of months, you'll be the first one to be able to register yourself. And secondly, it will also save you money. The payment for pre-registration is about 50 Hong Kong dollar, which equals $4 US, but you get 200 Hong Kong dollar discounts, which is about 14 US dollar discount if you pre-register now. So go to our website, we'll show later, and pre-register. The process will take about 3 minutes to create an account, select your sport or arts and culture event, and you pre-registered. So thank you so much, and pre-register now.
Okay, thank you so much, Dennis. We talk a little bit more about how to get involved, and I think thank you, Donald, for mentioning that, you know, we always want volunteers, we always volunteer, but there's actually other ways to get involved. So this is a bit of a list. Pre-register now, first thing. Second thing, pre-register now. Third thing, pre-register now. No, I'm kidding, but it's a very easy process. It gives us an idea of how, you know, how things can roll, and it's just very inexpensive. It's only $4 US if that's what you worry about, and that's what you should do. Another thing you can do, and I think, Donald, that's what you mentioned in a bit. You can form a team. You can form a team of sports or an art and culture team event. Go to our website. There's more information about this. Thank you, Donald. You mentioned our volunteers. Come and see what if you can actually help the gay games with giving some of your skills and some of your time. You don't have to be in Hong Kong. Go to our website for that. You can also become a champion. Champions are our eyes and voice. The gay games eyes and voice in the community, in your community. We have some great champions in Mexico and in the States. We need champions in Asia. We need champions in Europe as well. So see, this is something you want to do. Or if you work in a corporate environment, you can actually empower your team and your colleagues through D&I or ERG type of events. There could be someone that you want to invite. We always have, we can have that kind of possibility. Of course, please go to our social media channels. We have some great content about the gay games, content about who we are, what we do, and our legacy as well. And well, it is we are all volunteers at the gay games, and to run such an event, we need some money, and we have some great corporate partners. We'll have a slide thanking them a little bit later, but if you want to donate or fundraise, this is something you can do. So go to our website. It's on top of the slide here, www.ggHK2022.com. You have lots and lots of reason to support, not only reason, but lots of ways to support gay games and pre-register. We're going to have a slide to thank our partners now. So this is our wonderful partners. Platinum partners, thank you, Marriott Bonvoy and YouTube. But we also have supporting education from a lot, not only the corporate the corporate world, but also from community, education, and trade. And this is exactly what we talk about. This is unity in diversity. This shows a great diverse groups of supporter. So if you want to become a supporter, if you think your organization, and it's not always just about money, it's also about communication. If you think your organization wants to support gay games, do contact us. And there's an email that you can join us at, and it's hello@ggHK2022.com. This is an email. Yes, this is an email that will be there later. Okay. Well, I think that's all we have for tonight. Thank you very much. Tonight,
Thank you,
this is,
Betty.
if you're watching live, this video is also going to be on our YouTube channel very shortly. Thank you very much, Kimberly. Thank you very much, Donald. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Betty. Yeah.
And see
Thanks,
you next
Donald and
time.
Dennis. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.